What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and we are heading into Week 7 of our 2022 college football re-simulation. Let's take a look at the top stories. We'll recap Week 6 and take a look at the games coming up here for Week 7. So big story here, Arkansas knocking off Alabama. They pull off a big upset. We had Michigan, Iowa. That was a great game. Iowa upsets the #1 team in the country. We got Oklahoma and Texas coming up this week. Also, Miami versus North Carolina. That'll be a big one. NC State falls in a close one to Clemson. Ohio State survives a scare from Rutgers, but they did win. We saw Florida State moving to 4-1 after they win easily over Wake Forest, apparently. And all of a sudden, Texas A&M #1 after they beat Mississippi State. So let's go back and look at the scores from last week, and then again we'll preview Week 7. So here they are. You see, again, I'm not going to read all of these scores out. We had our weeknight game, Washington defeating UCLA. They are still undefeated, finally ranked this week. It took a little while. Let's see if FAU won and if they are ranked this week. There's that Clemson game. Maryland beats Michigan State by a lot. Wow. Let's take a look at more scores here. Ohio State barely winning. Oregon over Stanford. Oregon is 4-1. Their only loss came to Georgia. And that's another score I'm curious about, is that Georgia-Missouri game. You see Indiana beating Nebraska. Kansas with a big win over Iowa State. And there is Texas A&M defeating Mississippi State again, moving to #1. Georgia loses to Missouri. So Georgia loses to Kent State and Missouri, two teams that gave them a little bit of trouble in real life, but they actually lost here. And check out Missouri at 4-1, 2-0 in the SEC. That SEC East race is going to be really interesting. As we take a look at more scores here, looks like there were some good games. Oklahoma State is still undefeated. They beat Baylor 28-14. Syracuse with an easy win. USC put up 56 points. They're still undefeated. Tulsa beats Cincinnati. LSU wins big over Auburn. Oklahoma takes down TCU in what looks like it was a good one. Texas, #3 in the country now. They beat West Virginia. They're still undefeated. Louisville over BC. Florida wins easily. Oregon State beats Utah. So Utah now 2-3. They are off to a rough start. There's that game. Of course, Alabama losing to Arkansas in a big-time upset. Florida State put up 52 points. They're rolling right now. Illinois defeated Wisconsin. Kentucky falls to Ole Miss. The Rebels are 5-0. Watch out for this Ole Miss team. Kansas State 4-1. Duke now 5-0 after they beat Virginia. Penn State finally gets a win. Boy, they were off to a terrible start. Now 2-3. Pittsburgh taking down Georgia Tech. Eastern Michigan over App State. Iowa upset the #1 team. Remember, Michigan was #1. North Carolina's 5-0. They've got a win over Notre Dame on their resume. Still looking for that FAU score. Arizona, big win. 45-17 over Colorado. Washington State over Cal. And I didn't see the FAU. Maybe they didn't play this week. I thought that they did. There it is. Oh, I missed it. They lost. So they finally lost. They were 5-0 and still not ranked, but I guess they won't be ranked now after losing to North Texas. So let's see the updated Heisman watch. We'll also look at the updated top 25. Caleb Williams back to that top spot. Kenny McIntosh hanging out at #2. Bryce Young falling. A-Chain up to #4 for Texas A&M. And Nakia Watson, that one's kind of out of left field for Washington State. He is now into the Heisman race. So that one, again, very interesting. Let's look at the top 25 this week. Again, Texas A&M #1. You've got Oklahoma State #2. Long ways to go. I know these seem kind of strange right now, but I think things will look more like real life by the time we get done with the season. Texas, USC up there. Ohio State, Tennessee. Iowa's up to #7. Ole Miss up to #8. Not a whole lot of undefeated teams remaining. There's Michigan and Notre Dame. You see Clemson, Oregon, Miami, Alabama with 2 losses down to #14. Florida is ranked. North Carolina is 5-0. Arkansas, Baylor ranked, Oklahoma ranked, Kentucky, NC State, Pitt, SMU at 5-0, Georgia falling to number 24, and Washington. That's just ridiculous that Washington is not ranked ahead of a 3-2 Georgia team. Let's look at the AP poll, see if it looks pretty much the same. Let's see. I'm curious about, again, Washington. Where do they wind up? I mean, should Alabama even be ranked? I guess they have lost to two really good teams. Georgia is sitting at number 25 in this poll, and Washington's not even ranked. What is going on? Why does this game hate Washington so much? I have no idea what the deal is with that. So let's get to the games this week. It's going to be kind of a quiet week. There aren't a lot of huge games, honestly. There wasn't even a Thursday or Friday night game that I felt like showing. I mean, none of these games are really all that big. We do have a big one here. Texas A&M and Alabama. Can the Aggies stay undefeated, stay number one in the country? If they beat Alabama here, they're done as far as the playoff race is concerned. I don't think you have any shot at that point. That's the game that we'll show you for the noon window game. We got TCU, Kansas, North Carolina, Miami. That's another big one there. Two ranked teams. But I felt like Texas A&M, Alabama was the bigger game just because you've got the number one team in the country. And it is a big-time matchup. As you take a look at some of the other games here for the noon window. Iowa, Illinois. That's a sneaky good game there. Iowa's undefeated. Illinois is 4-1. Division matchup. So that's a big one. Oregon State, Stanford. There's Washington looking to stay undefeated. They'll play Arizona State. Texas Tech, Oklahoma State. Potential upset there. Who knows? Missouri, Florida. So we're going to show you this game. Again, there was not a lot to choose from with these 3:30 games. But we're talking about two 4-1 teams, an SEC matchup, division matchup. That seems like the best game. So we will show you that one from the afternoon window. And then we get to these night games. Arkansas, Mississippi State. That'll be a big one in the SEC. Tennessee, LSU. That will also be a huge one. Both teams 4-1. Both teams undefeated in conference play. But that was not the best game. Best game, I think, here is Texas, Oklahoma. It's a rivalry. Both teams are ranked. Texas, number 3 in the country. And it's going to be in prime time. Of course, that game is always at noon Eastern time. But going to be in prime time here on our Dynasty. So that'll be an interesting, a different look there, seeing these two teams play at night. We've got Wisconsin, Northwestern, South Carolina, Kentucky, Clemson, Boston College. Again, not a lot of huge games, but there are definitely some good ones. Kansas State, Iowa State, Virginia Tech, Pitt, Ohio State, Michigan State, Washington State, USC, Ole Miss, Vandy, Purdue, Maryland. Will there be another big upset? We'll see. Auburn plays Georgia. Notre Dame, BYU. That's a good one. Florida State, NC State, Army, Wake Forest, Hawaii, San Diego State, Utah versus UCLA. And there it is. That's the game we're going to show you from the Pac-12 after dark. Oregon, Arizona, both teams with just one loss. Oregon is number 12 in the country. Arizona with a win probably will be ranked. So that's a pretty big game there in the Pac-12. We'll see what happens there. So again, the lineup for tomorrow: Texas A&M, Alabama, Missouri, Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, Oregon versus Arizona. Should be some good ones. Hopefully you guys will join us live here on the channel. Check the channel later tonight or in the morning, and you'll see exactly what time each game is going to be. Thank you for watching this recap, and stay tuned for more right here on the SG1 Sports Sim channel.